first and foremost that I don't believe you can have reparations unless you're actually talking about cash payment. To me, that's the absolutely number one thing on the list right there. You got to have the cash. You got to have the money. We sit up and we talk about the actual racial wealth gap in this country. Well, that can't close by just doing different things. You got to have the actual funds in place to go ahead and help actually close the racial wealth gap, which was created during slavery time. So I'm all about policy, and I'm all about doing services and everything of that nature as well too. But you got to have the cash on hand. No cash means you really don't have reparations. It can't be like that thing in Everson as well too, where you're sitting up here and you're giving people money to talk about putting it into housing and telling people what to do with money. If you have the idea that you're going to give somebody something, basically almost a grant, almost a loan type slash grant, you're going to tell them exactly how they can use that money and what it has to be used for, and only a certain amount of people that's even eligible in your city, your state, your county, whatever, then that's not reparations to me. So first and foremost, we got to have the cash available, cash. And then I think secondly, land is the most important thing as well too. They're not making any more new land on this world, so we need to go ahead and be able to have our own land. A lot of land was lost between Reconstruction up until to the current time. We saw with the Bruce's Beach, them just getting land back. It took them 100 years to get land that was lost in their family eminent domain by the actual city. So land is the next biggest thing in my mind. And then you go ahead and you start doing the policy. And policy could be anything that if you want, from healthcare to education to, putting Black people in certain segments that they've been historically discriminated against. Certain industries that our labor helped build and create generational wealth, such as the banking system here in America. You got a bunch of banking companies and institutions that are multi-billion-dollar corporations, and their wealth came from slavery, agriculture industry as well too. So I think we have to have specifically certain representation in some of these areas that we're talking about, government as well too. People say, well, why does policy matter? Well, policy was the reason we were slaves in the first place. The laws and lawmakers put that into place. So if you're going to go ahead and talk about real reparations, I think it has to be a three system type thing. There it has to be cash, land, and it has to be policies as well too, and policies that specifically set aside for Black Americans in this country as well too. It can't be all inclusive for every single solitary person. It has to be exclusively for Black people. That's something that's never been done in this country, with something that's set aside exclusively for Black Americans. So we give a shout out to Rella. I see Rella up in the spot as well too. Rella, how you doing tonight? I know you had some issues getting up in the space in terms of speaking. I don't know how well that's going to go tonight as well too. So like I said, we're going to touch up on a number of things. I hope to hear from people. Trouble, you might be the only one. I know you guys got a space tonight, so we're not going to try to keep it too long. We want to go ahead and let you guys go ahead also and get your space on as well too. So we're just going to go up and chat for a little bit. Hopefully we could be a lead off for you guys until the next level when you get ready to start your space up as well too. I have no idea, y'all, what's up with the actual speaking. I know DJ read something earlier. He was saying that something about a glitch in the Twitter era when they did their updates and stuff like that. So who knows how long it's going to take for this situation to actually get fixed. It sucks because we're used to having our people come in here, very insightful people sharing great knowledge with us. And it's been limited severely this week as well to the amount of people that actually tried to request to come up. A lot of people got frustrated. They leave the spaces because they can't get up. They request to come up 10 times and still nothing. You temporarily looks like you're going to speak and then you're kicked out. And so I understand the frustration going on with a lot of our folks as well too. So yeah, I just want to go ahead and we're gonna like I said, I want to have a nice discussion about reparations. What do you guys consider to be actual reparations? And if you guys know you can't speak, then leave a comment in the comment section and we'll go ahead and we'll read it and we'll discuss it as well too. I know you have to make best do with what you can. So at this point in time, for our people that normally come up and speak and you can't speak, you can't come up and get your speaker roll on, go ahead and just drop a brief comment in there. We'll go ahead, we'll touch up on it. Hopefully we'll create nice dialogue where we can have a nice back and forth and, think about what's going on as well too. The rep says, what do you think about the OMP? And this is on YouTube actually. What do you think about the OMB and Amos Brown NAACP San Francisco fumble the rep bag? Well, I mean, I think Amos Brown put his foot in his mouth, definitely. And I think that you had the NAACP trying to go ahead and trying to clean everything up. He came back later on and he was saying, well, he supports reparations. He felt the dollar amount was amount, I guess, that's basically was unrealistic. My thing is, if you felt that the dollar amount was something that was unrealistic, why not just come in here and actually replace that dollar amount and give him a dollar amount that you think would be actually something that could get passed through? Like, he didn't do that. What he said and the policies and everything that he was talking about having put into place, it didn't say anything about money. So when you come back a day later or whatever, and then you say, well, I didn't mean that and this and that, you should have went ahead and said exactly what you think. So, tell everybody exactly what you think the actual dollar amount should be. Because I know a lot of people say, I don't think we're going to get $5 million. I don't think we're going to get $3 million, $2 million. I don't think they'll give us $1 million. Well, if you don't think we're going to get anything in the millions, tell us if you think it's going to be $50,000 or $10,000 or $100,000, whatever amount it's going to be. Let people know. But when you sit up here and you say, well, you have something about the cash or whatever, and you don't say anything like that, people tend to think that you're anti any cash going back to people as well too. So you have to come out and say what you mean. So he didn't do that. He went along, and then when he started catching heat and catching fire, then he went ahead and he backtracked. He's like, oh, well, this is what I mean. And well, you should have said that from the beginning, man. You're the president of the NAACP chapter out there in San Francisco. Of course, people are gonna hear what you said, and they're gonna run with it, and they're gonna take it to heart. And I think he said exactly what he meant. I think he realistically meant that he didn't think that Black people should worry about cash. From what I can remember, he was talking about housing, education, healthcare, restoring the old Fillmore district. That's his main concerns right there, because he knows that a lot of his white constituents that are Democrats as well too don't want to hear anything in terms of actual money being given out to Black people. So he had to go ahead and save face. And I believe they were saying Kamala Harris also was saying something about, and I don't know how real, but I know they say she was saying something about cash reparations as well too. So unfortunately, and that's another thing I want to touch upon tonight, because it was a couple of weeks ago, I did tweet out an article that Wells Fargo gave the NAACP $50 million to go ahead and basically, expand their operations nationwide. And I know the NAACP is talking about actually putting their headquarters in Washington, D.C. I believe it's located in Baltimore at this point in time. So, the NAACP is getting corporate money, and the NAACP is trying to be oh so careful not to bite the hand that's feeding them as well, too. So they backtrack and they say a lot of different things, and they want to keep getting funded. They want to keep getting those dollars. And if you're being funded by corporate America, that means you're being funded by white America, and you have to walk on eggshells, and you have to be careful exactly of what you're saying, that you don't piss a lot of white people off that's writing those checks to the NAACP. So I think a lot of that is what it also boils down to exactly. I have no issue with the housing. And like I say, everything he said made a good point. But once you take the cash out of it, then it doesn't make sense. You put in the dollar amount that you say you think or you believe that we should get, and then you go ahead and you add that stuff that you already put into place. And I don't think you would have had any Black folks that had any problems with what you said. I too would like to add that we should have land in there as well too. Like, so the housing is good, the education is good, restoring the old business district as well too. But one of the main ways that you accumulate wealth in this country is through real estate, and that, like I say, that's been lost through generations. So if you're going to go ahead and add those other elements of what you think it takes for us to be successful as Black people, also add the land in. We can't be a landless people. If you're going to have money, give us also the land too. And that will make sure that ensure that it works as well too. So I want the money first and foremost. I want the land, and I also want the policy too. Like I say, some of these industries and stuff that have historically discriminated against Black people and kept their numbers low in the occupation, we need to go ahead and make sure that federally that we're in those actual seats as well too. If you say Black people are 13% of the population in this country, then we need to make up 13% of some of the stockholders in some of these major Fortune 500 companies as well too. Some of these major Fortune 500 companies that we help to build and we help to get to the level that they're at. So that's my main thing as well too. I had no issue with what he said in terms of the actual having the policies and this and that in place. That's great. But those policies don't mean nothing if you don't have any actual money behind it. And that's something as a people we don't have. We're the poorest people in this country in terms of a race. So if we really want to go ahead and make ground, if we really want to go ahead and improve our economic situation, and the economic situation will also improve the social economic situation in this country as well too. People that have access to capital and money and wealth and stuff, they don't get their heads beaten by the police. Only poor people that don't have any money, any representation, no one backing them, they're the ones that get beat up by the police. They're the ones that get killed in the street. When was the last time you read an article of a Jewish man being shot down by the cops in the back? You probably in your life have never read an article about a Jewish man being shot down by the cops in the back. You've never heard about Jewish people, a Jewish woman in her house minding her own business, and the cops get the wrong address or whatever, and they come in and they raid and they shoot and they blow her brains out, and then they try to pin her or her boyfriend as the actual criminals. That kind of stuff only happens to one designated group. The Hispanics may get some of it, but nobody gets the actual full fury of it the way Black people get. So if you constantly sit up here and you're talking about that money doesn't play a role in it, that money doesn't matter, I would have to disagree with you. Money matters a hell of a lot. If we're going to really come up as a people, if you're going to really cut in half, and you have a lot of things. You have slavery, you have Reconstruction, you have Jim Crow, you have so many different things, redlining, the expansion of the U.S. highway system that went into Black neighborhoods. If you're really seriously talking about trying to cut into the actual the racial wealth gap in this country, and the racial wealth gap impacts a whole lot of things. It impacts also the healthcare gap you have in this country. You see Black people live, especially Black men, live significantly lower rates than anybody else in this country. A Black man's going to die quicker than anybody else, and then next would be the Black woman. So if we're really talking about trying to do something economically, it has to be through the cash. And like I said, we can discuss that. We can talk about what amount it is. If you think 5 million is actually an accurate number, do you think 5 million? Because even myself, I'll be honest, I have a hard time believing. I have to see with my own eyes. I have a hard time believing that you would have California actually cut a check out for 5 million per person for Black people in this country. Like, that's not that I'm against it. I would love to see that happen, but I just have a hard time believing that. I would have to actually see it to believe it. I don't think, if they cut the check out for 5 million, you wouldn't get one problem with me. I did say, and we got into it in other space, that it needs to be lineage based. And I will stand by that. Once we get everything lineage based taken care of in terms of the reparations, then we can start worrying about all of the actual other injustices that the United States of America has done. But before we can get to that point, they have business to take care of first and foremost. So I see Dana is up in the spot too. Shout out to you, Dana. How you doing tonight? We're just doing a quick little Twitter space. I want to say what's up to you. Shout out to you. I know Dana's one of the few that actually hasn't had any issues also with the actual coming up in the actual Twitter spaces as well too. So a lot of our other people, they've had major issues. She's one of the few people that actually hasn't had any issues. So shout out to Dana. I see more of our people are coming up in the space as well too. Queen B, Aaron, Tech Sassy, how you doing? So more of our people are coming up in here. Black Idaho. I see the Black Hockey Club is up in here as well too, guys. So yeah, you guys want to speak, please go ahead and request a microphone. Like I say, some of you may not be able to come up because if you've been in these Twitter spaces, Marcel posted it out yesterday. He wanted to know who was having problems bringing people up as speakers and co-hosts. Yeah, we've been one of the main ones having problems as well too. So you won't know till you try, but yes, we have been having some issues bringing up some of our speakers. Half of our speakers are able to come up without any issues. Another half of them are having issues too. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but I do want to get everybody's opinion on this. And real quick, I want to read, we see why the NAACP is sometimes compromised in exactly what they can do. Now, a couple weeks ago, and this is from afro.com, it's up in the Jumbotron, said Wells Fargo awards $50 million to the NAACP. DJ, I'm going to try to let you come back up here again, but you know how this thing is, so let's see if it goes. I'm sure it's going to drop you right down. Yep, it hasn't failed in the past week or so. So yeah, DJ, I guess just man down the comment section because I don't know what's up, but say Wells Fargo awards $50 million to NAACP. Wells Fargo recently awarded the NAACP a $50 million grant to help the civil rights organization develop a new national headquarters in Washington, D.C. and bolster local NAACP branches across the country. The grant marks the single largest donation that the NAACP has ever received from a corporation. We're grateful to Wells Fargo for their donation, the single largest donation the NAACP has ever received from a corporation. These funds will go directly towards strengthening the NAACP grassroots network of local units and branches across all 50 states, as well as the work of the national NAACP, said Derek Johnson, president of the NAACP. All corporations play a critical role in democracy. They must be engaged as allies in the fight to end discrimination in our economy and our justice system across the society and within their own services. The NAACP's headquarters have been in Baltimore since 1986, but in 2020, the social justice nonprofit announced that it would move its central office to D.C. at the soon-to-be redeveloped Frank D. Reeves Center. Wells Fargo has supported NAACP since 1998. Over the years, the financial services company has helped to fund the NAACP Financial Freedom Center, provide financial literacy programs, and offer home ownership programs. And we all know Wells Fargo has been notorious with some of their predatory loans and stuff towards Black people as well in this country too. Wells Fargo has had a very long-standing relationship with the NAACP, where we have collaborated with them with their principals over the years and even worked with branch units and markets where Wells Fargo has a presence, and where we have employees who live and work there, said Georgette Gigi Dixon, Vice President and Head of External Engagement for Diverse Segments, Representation and Inclusion for Wells Fargo. Our relationship with them spans beyond 20 years, and it's been a tier one significant relationship for us to reach. We share in a common to try to instill and promote the idea of financial health and economic opportunity. With this multi-year donation, the NAACP will be able to strengthen its more than 2,000 branch units across the U.S. by providing micro grants to enhance infrastructure and to obtain the needed resources to affect change at the local level. This particular grant signifies our ongoing and continued commitment to work for the NAACP, and that includes major events that the NAACP hosts, like the Women and NAACP Empowerment Brunch and the Image Awards. These positive image, the impact that happened at local market with the NAACP branch units, laddering up to the national mission, vision, and purpose of the NAACP, which is to remove discrimination against all people of color. The NAACP is supposed to be removing discrimination first and foremost for Black people, Dixon told Afro. As a corporate citizen, Wells Fargo has a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is one of the ways that we demonstrate our commitment, but also enable our employees, our leaders, and our stakeholders to engage in the work. And that's the main problem with the NAACP that we see. There's nothing wrong with trying to end racism. There's nothing wrong with doing inclusion and everything else. But first and foremost, the NAACP can't worry about all people of color. The NAACP focus should be for Black people. Colored people, at the time that it was founded, meant Black people. There were no other colored people in this country. If it were, there was such a small number of them. Colored people meant Black people, and that's what the NAACP should focus on. But you can see why the NAACP backpedal and backtrack, like I say, because they are actually funded by a lot of these corporate entities. They have to be careful how they step. And even though we talk about Amos Brown, and Amos Brown was wrong what he said, you have to wonder too. Amos Brown took the heat, but how many other people in the NAACP kind of feel exactly what Amos Brown felt as well too? Yeah, he came out and he said the dumb stuff, but how many other people in that San Francisco chapter out there went ahead and felt the same way? Amos Brown should have kind of be quiet and let everything be everything, but he couldn't do that. So Amos Brown had to get up there and say something. Then Amos Brown, the first thing he does, he's backtracking. He said, well, I'm for reparations, but I'm just not for the amount that they have. It's not realistic. Then you give a realistic amount, Amos Brown. Give us a realistic amount. I'm sorry, Rella. I know you was trying to get up. Like I said, unfortunately, I don't know what's up with these spaces, man. It's unfortunate that these spaces are doing this, because everybody's coming up and people have been trying to come up and say what they want to say. And these spaces have really been a pain in the you-know-what lately in terms of us having the actual engagement that we're used to with our people as well. I know I feel you on that face there too, Rella. I feel you with that face. Trouble, if you want to come up here and maybe say something, if you want to, Dana, Rerod, anybody wants to come up here, because I know we've had a couple people try to come up, but unfortunately it's one of those things. It's crazy too. Last Friday when we held our first ever Friday night space, and we went a long time tonight, everybody and their mama came up and said something, whatever. We actually had to try to cut people time back after a while, just so we can go ahead and get to everybody. Within a couple of days after that space, we couldn't hardly, now you can hardly get anybody up to do what you got to do. So that just lets you see exactly what's been going on here lately. Hopefully they get this technology under wraps or whatever glitch or error they got in the system. They need to go ahead and fix this as soon as possible, because it's really taken away from the engagement in a lot of our spaces as well too. So that's just like I said, I want to go ahead and cover that. I want to hear somebody's opinion on what is a reasonable amount exactly. The $50 million that Wells Fargo gave the NAACP to, how much is the corporate money that the NAACP is being given? How much is that actually affecting their actual mindset in terms of what they can and can't say as well too? Really, you got your other account. Let's see if this will work here. I hope so. We'll see. Oh my God. This thing is ridiculous, man. This is ridiculous. Even when people really got her other account, even when you had Aunt Lie last night get her other account and go ahead and try to get on, is still the same thing here. Like, good Lord, like this has been a pain in the ass. Like, Dana, I wanted to know if you had, I know you had a space not too long ago. I wonder if you were having the same issues that we've been having as well too. If so, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If your space has been to the point where you can't get people to come up there, a lot of your speakers, and it's just knocking you down or whatever, like this has been a total pain in the ass the past week. I swear, like, good Lord. What's going on, Dana?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So what would other people having problems? What did they be dropped down if they
come
up?
It's like now half of our speakers, like Reraw, she can come up. I know Trouble can come up. We got probably half of our speakers can actually come up and speak. The other half they request to speak, and as soon as it looks like they approve to speak, then it drops them back down to listener.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me, Dana?
Yeah. Okay, so it's like you.
It sounds like you may be in the matrix now. Can you still hear me? Can you hear me, Dana? No, she may be in the matrix too now. Dana, let me know if you can hear me. We lost her too. It's almost like this thing is almost doing it on purpose too with some of this stuff too, man. Good Lord. Can you hear me, Dana?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you before, and then it's like I lost you.
It could be the room I'm in that don't have good Wi-Fi. Maybe it's the Wi-Fi. Maybe it's not what we think it is.
But we've been having this all week long. We've been having this with the spaces. People been, I can't say that it should be everybody should be having issues. Like, yeah, you get people that have an issue, but not everybody, but half of the speakers coming up, they just people that normally come and speak in the space, they can't come up and speak. Yeah, DJ hasn't been able to come up and speak for the past week or so.
Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Because a message just popped up on my phone. Looks like your connection is weak. Reconnecting.
Oh my God.
And that's what I'm saying. If this happened before, but I think it had to do with my Wi-Fi. I don't know. So, but I'm in a room where I do my Twitter space. I'm in that same room where I do my Twitter space at. So yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to come up to test. So,
have you had any issues doing your Twitter space this week? Hey Dana.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Have you had any issues with your bringing people up in your Twitter spaces? Any? No, Lord, we done lost her too, man. This has just been ridiculous here with these Twitter spaces lately, man. I have no idea what's going on. But anyways, let me go ahead and get back to the actual topic, because this has been, like I say, every time this whole week, we've been trying to bring people up and stuff. We just been losing them in the spaces or whatever. So, but yeah, just real quick, y'all. My main thing is, like I say, I would like to hear exactly what people think in terms of the actual, is cash the only thing that we want as reparations? How do you feel about it? Is it only about cash, or is it about other intangibles as well? Cash is the most important thing. First and foremost, just let me say that you got to have the cash. That's number one. No cash, no deal, period. If they say, well, we'll give you this and we'll give you that, no, you won't give us anything. You got to give us cash first and foremost, and then the land, and then the policy. But if anybody says no, well, nah, it's cash, bro. If it's no cash, then I don't even want to hear it. You can come back later on to that. Sassy, that's what I'm saying. Now, Sassy and Trouble can get up here, but if some other people try to get up here, they can't. Sassy, how you doing tonight?
All right, how are you? Good evening. Grace and peace to everyone. Greeting to everyone that is somebody. And we all are somebody. Listen, I agree 100%. Listen, I want cash because I can purchase my own land. I can do whatever I want with it. Let me tell you, I'm tired of them regulating us, and offering us programs. Okay, and that's what the government does: offers us programs, but we never own anything. You know, we never have a tangible for all that we have done, our ancestors, and all that we're doing for America. Okay, everybody else gets cash, and I'm not going to go through the list, but I do know today Mexican migrants got $6.5 billion for lost wages, and that's never done for Black Americans. Foundational, who've been here, okay, who are the bedrock and foundation and the cornerstone of America. Now, so now it's obvious they have a cash, okay, CASTE. What word is that? Case system, and we're at the bottom. But that's going to change. No, we want our reparations. I don't live in San Francisco, but that $5 million is a good amount. It's not a high. It's just right for them. And we always have tethers or whatever and try to intervene and stop our progress. I know we got down when we had the interference, but no, we're gonna prevail. We're going to keep fighting. And let me tell you, they're shocked that we are fighting for this bad. So they're even, I'm sorry for the interruption. So they're even shocked that we're pursuing this. And we're not going to stop. We're not going to relent. We are to be encouraged. And we continue fighting. I think it's generations because I am a millennial. So I'm a little bit older, like over 55. You know, a woman never tells her age, but I'm still gonna be on y'all's side. Generation X, Y, Z. You all's mindset is totally different, you know, but I appreciate that. Now let me hit on the 50 million. Now they was giving 50 million, and let me say this in closing. Let me turn my TV down. Just bear with me. Okay. Listen. So they gave them 50 million. You never hear about the NAACP. You never hear about them fighting. They might write a letter every now and again, but we need to infiltrate and get young people in there to become the president, the secretary, everything. Get in there. You hear me? And change the whole compass, the circumference of that organization. Okay? Young people, get in there. I've been in protests all of my life, and, you know, all in college and stuff. And I'm not tired. I'll be there, but my knees are getting bad, you know? But you all keep fighting and don't stop. Don't relent. Okay? Y'all hear me? Give me a thumbs up or something. All right. So I love y'all. Y'all keep fighting. I'm going to get a subscription to Newstoter. I appreciate all the work you do. You are awesome. And y'all just stay the course. If you need to, pass the baton. Pass the baton if you have to. And keep running. Don't stop.
Absolutely, sis. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
No problem, sis. And I'm glad that you was able to get up here. Unfortunately, some of our other speakers weren't able to get up here, but I'm glad to have you up in here. So thank you. I agree with everything you say. I will say this right here, Sassy, and I know you're saying that the cash and you can buy your own land, but I feel like this right here. Too much land was taken from us. Too much land was promised us that was never given to us. So I don't think the reparations, that land should come out of our actual own pocket. Like you get that check. Nah, the land and the cash are separate. Like you go ahead and you ain't got to get in this day and age, you ain't got to get a 40 acres. You at least need to give us 1 or 2 acres of land. Okay, at the very least, give us one. If you can say, well, we don't have it, and back in 1860 something, it was so many people up here and this and that or whatever, and now that land has been split up and we can't know, you're gonna give up some kind of property. You gotta give up some kind of property to us. So we gotta have that. We gotta have some land, and the land don't come out the check with the money. Let me just say that right there. The money and the money and the check, they separate. We keep the money. We don't need to spend no money. We don't need to use any money to buy any land. You're gonna go ahead and give that up to us. You stole quite a bit of it from our grandparents and great grandparents and great great grandparents. Outcast and Don, I'm sorry I tried to get y'all up here, but like I said, these spaces are super janky, man. I don't know what's up with them. That's what I'm saying. Don normally can come up here with no issue. Now it's to the point that everybody that can normally come up here just about can't come up here. It's a Twitter issue, y'all. Twitter's got to fix this glitch. Hopefully, we're hoping they can go ahead and they can fix this thing soon, because like I said, it's taken away from the quality of the type of spaces that we're used to running. It's taken away from the actual engagement, the conversation, the dialogue that I'm used to having with my people. It's aggravating. It's frustrating. I don't like it, but there's nothing I can do about it at this time, y'all. So I just let me give y'all a shout out for coming and supporting it as well. I know it's not how we normally do business here, but when in Rome, that's all I can say. When in Rome. Let me go ahead and let me go ahead and give it to my girl Trouble. Trouble, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, Newstoter, shout out to the great group. How's everybody doing tonight? Sorry, I got a belt for a pizza. Ooh. And that boy good. So can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I agree with everything Sassy said. They have to start with money. It's a non-starter to even be talking about not giving money. And I don't know what Dr. Amos is talking about when he says 5 million is unrealistic. And like he said, if he felt like it was unrealistic, then he should have offered an amount that was realistic. And who are you to say that 5 million is unrealistic in a state like California where everything is super expensive? So it's not too much money. It's like there's so many different gatekeepers, and unfortunately we have skin folk who look just like us, who sit back and they keep the gate because they're being paid under the table, whether they admit it or not. Now I'll even say allegedly, but I believe they're all being paid to a certain degree. When I was looking at this, I was sitting here and I was thinking to myself, BLM, when BLM came out and we started feeling like they wasn't doing what they were supposed to do with the money that was being directed to them, we all were outraged about it. But the truth of the matter is, we've had a lot of Black organizations like the NAACP, unlike BLM, who've been getting money under the cloak of Black folks forever now. And just like we wanted to know what BLM was doing with the money, we should be demanding to know exactly what all the NAACP is using with the money. So Wells Fargo says they've had a long-standing 20-year relationship with the NAACP. So how much money have you been giving them over the years, and where has that money exactly been going to? And like you stated, back in the days when the NAACP first started, it was for colored people, and we were the colored people that it was for. Now it's for colored people who are not us. And it seems to be helping more of those colored people than it is the original people it was meant to be helped. And it seems like we have the Black Caucus who's moved in that direction as well. Anything that seemed like it was specifically for us, it seemed to be been taken away and under the cloak of minorities or colored people. They're color peopling us to damn death. They're color peopling all of our funding and monies away, and it's getting to be a little bit sickening and sickening, just straight sickening, really. But I think we need to start demanding, what are you all doing with this money? Okay, you said on one hand that it was to be used to, move your headquarters to another area. What does that do for us? That doesn't do anything for us. It doesn't matter where you all are located at. So where's the money going in the community specifically? We should start demanding a breakdown of exactly what they're doing in the Black community, not colored people's community, but Black community. I seen an article someone posted last night about some Asian woman that was the president of her branch of NAACP, not only quitting, but suing them for discrimination against her. So now I'm like, okay, well, you know it's not for Black people anymore when you got a whole Asian woman or Asian mixed woman who's the president of a branch of NAACP, and that's probably why a lot of funds are not getting directed our way, because you got a lot of others, you got a lot of colors that are not Black in color that are working for the NAACP, that's setting policies, that's doing things, and taking funding and shipping them in their people's direction. So I really think we need to start demanding not just of Black Lives Matter, the same smoke we have for them, we need to have for NAACP and any other organization that's doing things in our name. And we really need to start hacking up the Black Caucus and calling them out and putting them to task as well. So as far as what the money, I'm all for cash. You got to start with cash, but it also includes land. It also includes housing. It also includes, it includes all of the above. There's no one thing that they can leave out when it comes to reparations, because when it comes to repair, you got to look at the total package of what's been broken. You have broken us mentally. You've broken a lot of us physically, spiritually. You have broken us in a lot of ways that needs to be repaired. So that also includes them going back into their little fake justice system, redoing some of their laws that have us hemmed up over nothing. This two-way double, this two different justice system that we have, that includes that too. That includes you all going back and seeing all of those brothers and sisters who've been locked up for years, and they've been saying that they're innocent. Repair means to go back and get those brothers and sisters out of jail as well, especially if you didn't have a sound case to damn begin with. Repair means a whole lot of things, but we're going to start at the money. We're going to start at the check, and you're not going to program us to goddamn death, because we already know when it comes to these programs, everybody else gets to utilize these programs. It's never just programs specifically for us. Everybody else under the cloak of minority and color get to use these same programs too. So damn a program, you keep your goddamn program, give us the money, we can start our own damn programs. But, if you want to do a little something, then go ahead and do what you're going to do. But let's start at that check.
Real talk, Trouble. Let me just go ahead and tell DJ and Professor and Don, I'm trying to get you guys up here. It's not me, it's the space, y'all. It's the space that's doing this. We're trying to get y'all up here, but these spaces, like I said, they're having some technical issues. It's either that they're having technical issues or we just shadowed, man. But I believe it's technical issues. We've been trying, we've been having these issues all week. Professor, would have been had you up here. I tried to get you to co-host the other night. And, even DJ had a space a few nights ago we tried to create, and he could never hear me. So I don't know what's going on with these spaces, man. I just know right now that we can't get the regular rhythm to the spaces that I really like. So, on that end, I am sorry, but, that's a Twitter issue. Hopefully, y'all, we can go ahead and get this thing rolling. Let me say this about the NAACP. The NAACP, and when it comes to anything dealing with Black people, only come around when the camera's around. If it's anything else like that, the NAACP, you hardly ever hear them. But whenever that camera and that microphone is visible, then they go ahead and they start sharing their opinions and everything right here. It's time to go ahead and get rid of the NAACP, okay? Not get rid of them, but it's time to replace them with something like that. The same way we're trying to move forward, and some of the actual people from the civil rights movement, we're kind of moving the opposite direction from them. It's time to do that with the organizations as well, too. It's time to go ahead and move beyond the urban leagues of the world. It's time to move beyond the NAACPs of the world. You got to go ahead. You got to remember when these organizations was formed and stuff like that, and exactly who formed them as well too. Who was the one actually putting that money behind them? The NAACP has always been underneath the thumb of a certain group of people. So we can't sit up here and put too much leeway in what the NAACP said. The NAACP is not going to step on toes. You see the NAACP in that article I read, they was talking about the positive impact the NAACP makes, and they was talking about the image awards. A lot of Black folks had a lot of problems with those image awards that they just had a couple of weeks ago with the whole thing, the award that they was giving the award to Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade about the son and the daughter, whatever. A lot of people, Black people, didn't particularly care about that. So like I said, you got to also look at what the NAACP is about. You got to also see that the NAACP is going to toe that line. The NAACP is about being politically correct. They're not about anything that's revolutionary. They're not about anything that's going to solely focus on Black people in this country. As Trouble said, they're going to focus on people of color and minorities and stuff like that. That's why we don't get anything, because our people, our organizations, they focus on any and everybody, while other people, they have that keen focus. They're concentrated simply on their people. You're not going to have something the equivalent of NAACP in the Asian community worried about what the Black people can get. You're not going to have something in the Hispanic community worried about Black people. It's strictly about what they can get for their own people. And when you put the NAACP up there, that's why they're giving them $50 million. It's the same reason why you got the United Negro College Fund sitting up here giving scholarships out to people that's not even Black. I mean, you don't get any more. You can't have an organization called the United Negro College Fund, and you got people that I think we checked, they were giving out scholarships to Hispanics and stuff like that. I mean, what are we talking about here? You can't sit up here and talk about you for Black liberation and Black this and Black that, and you're doing things to take away actual resources for Black people and giving the people of color and saying, well, these people are unrepresented and these people oppressed as well, and these people. I mean, nobody wants to hear this kind of stuff. So the NAACP, it did surprise me one bit what Amos Brown said. Amos Brown said what a lot of these Boule folks think in the NAACP and what they've been pushing for the past 50 some odd years in this country. The inclusion of any and everybody into whatever little crumb that Black people are trying to fight over. Let's go ahead and let's split that little crumb that we already fighting over, and let's split into 100 different pieces. And whatever we can get, that's fine and good. So that kind of stuff doesn't work. And Trevor, I know you were saying too about the actual, and like I said, I want to hear him say exactly what's the amount that Black people deserve to get. If 5 million, like I say, in my personal opinion, and I want to hear somebody come up here as well too. Do you think that we can because I had a space a couple of nights ago about that. Is $5 million realistic? Basically, I was asking, is that a realistic amount of money that we can actually get? Do you guys think that we can actually get? And by us, I know that I don't live in California, so I'm not including myself. But by us, I'm talking about other Black people. Because let's look at this right here. What goes on in California may very well affect the rest of the country in terms of the reparation movement as well, too. You got all these task forces now being created in different cities and states. So what's going on? People are closely looking at that. They're hoping, a lot of people are hoping that California falls flat on its face so they don't have to deal with this. They want to create these actual little task forces that they want to see fail. The last thing in the world anybody wants to see is that California actually cuts a damn check. Because if California cuts a check, then, Houston, we have problems. That means the rest of the country is going to have to tighten up. And then it'll become, California is just a bunch of crazy liberals out there and this and that or whatever. California could be the nuttiest people in the world. California go ahead and they cut a check out there. San Francisco, if one of those cities, if San Francisco is the first one to go ahead and it leads to a domino effect, and then the entire state of California starts cutting checks, then you got some issues here in America. You got some problems here. For the states that don't even want to think of this as being some kind of even realistic, now they have to confront this. Now they have to deal with this. This is the last thing in the world they want to have to deal with. I was reading last night some of the comments off of the article I had that was curated on Yahoo, that was on the Newstoter.com platform. And you guys that was in the space, it was a smaller space, but you guys heard the actual vitriol and the actual smart aleck comments that these folks were saying, and most of them was white, let's be for real, saying about the actual reparations, saying about, and it's the same tired arguments you get all the time. Well, my family wasn't even in this country, and I should get reparations. I'm an Irishman, and this and that, and if there's any slaves around today, then maybe they should get something, this or that or whatever. So this is the thing that we're dealing with right here. So I want to know exactly $5 million. And that was the thing last night. People were saying that it's no way that California could afford to give 50,000 people $5 million. It's going to cost $250 billion. It's going to cost $150 billion. It's going to cost X amount of dollars. So I really want to know what some of our people up in there. I see Black Native just got up in here as well, too. So shout out to that, sister. But is that possible? Is that viable? Can California afford that? If California can come up with the money, and like I say, I'm looking on a federal level. When we're talking about reparations, I'm looking on the federal level because the state is fine too, but federal it's going to take a federal level to actually go ahead and get these reparations and stuff moving. Wilson, sister, I'm trying to get you up here, but I see that the space, like I say, the space, I don't know. This, like I said, this thing. Okay, you are up here, so I'm glad because we've been having so many issues with trying to get speakers up here. So I'm glad, sister, that you was able to come up here. How you doing tonight, Wilson?
How are you? I just wanted to share with you from someone who lives in California to keep in mind that California is the 5th largest economy in the world. Okay, look, I will say that again. California is the 5th largest economy in the world. When it comes to paying federal taxes, we are number 1 in the United States. Okay, we support, with among other states, but we support this damn country. We keep the states that, like Kentucky and Alabama, Mississippi, we keep them alive. Okay, so yes, California can afford to pay that out. I think that California is very special. We have the intellect property. We have the agricultural property. We have the real estate property. You see, when people in the news talk about real estate and it's going down and this and that, that's real estate in the United States, and then there's real estate in California. Okay, so I am going to land with just saying one more time, as the 5th largest economy in the world, and it may be next year the 4th, yes, they can afford it.
Thank you, Wilson. Volvo, brother, I saw you try to come up here. I'm sorry. It's the space still. It's these Twitter spaces. It's some kind of it's some technical issues that they got going on. So I'm sorry about that. Like I said, last night Marcel had tweeted out. He was asking if anybody was having issues bringing up speakers. I replied to him, I've been having issues all week. So it's not this particular space here. It's a lot of spaces where these issues are going on as well too. So, and Wilson is right. California has a lot of money. California has one of the biggest economies in the world. When you think about an actual state, this goes to show you how powerful the United States of America is. How many states in the United States, when we look at California having the 5th largest economy in this actual world, how many states, how many of the 50 states would be in the top 50 economies, and we were able to take them? I'm pretty sure New York would be. I'm pretty sure Texas would be. I'm pretty sure Florida would be. So when you think about actual states within an actual country that's in the top economies in the world, you know that you're a country that has power and wealth, and and can do a lot of things that you claim that you can't do. So I'm interested to hear that as well too. Dana, if you get a chance, I want to also ask you as well too. Do you think the $5 million? Do you think that's something that's possible in the state of California? I know you're listening right now, so whenever you get a chance and you want to come up or whatever, but I just want to get your opinion on that as well too. I know you're a big content creator as well too, and I do value your opinion. So if you get a chance, if you can hear me, I don't know if you're having any issues as well too, but do you think the $5 million, because a lot of our people say $5 million ain't enough. Like we should get $10 million. We should get $15, $20 million. I know a lot of our people point to the actual the Newsweek article where they was talking about that black folks is owed $120 some million or something like that. Let me just say, folks, I personally, that Newsweek article to me, I think was a bunch of bull crap. Personally, I think Newsweek floated that number out there simply to try to sink the actual reparations claim and make it seem like it was just idiotic. So, okay, well, you want reparations? Yeah, I'll give you a nice round figure. Okay, every black person in America's owed $150 million, knowing damn well there's no way impossible that you could come up and give every black person in this country that's a descendant of chattel slavery $150 million damn dollars. That is just impossible. Even if you say I'm going to break it down in lump sums, it's impossible, y'all. And I think Newsweek was just sitting out there, and they were saying that to be smart asses. They were saying that to really give us a backhanded compliment, so to speak. They did not mean they. I think Newsweek deep down inside don't believe that you deserve any reparations, and that was a way of telling you to F off in a nice way by coming and putting this astronomical amount that they know that it's no way in hell could be ever reached. Let me go ahead and just put this out here. Since you guys think you deserve reparations, oh yeah, I'm going to throw out this amount right here. Hey, and I agree. The amount for reparations that's owed in this country, you can't even it can't even be estimated. There's no telling exactly how much. 5 million might be a safe amount, but they just put that out there because they know no sane person is going to sit up here and say, hey, I'm going to give a single individual $150 million. Do you really think that these white folks would give you enough money to make you the richest people on the entire damn planet, richer than any other group on earth you would be, if they were able to, even if they were able to afford it? First off, the GDP in this country wouldn't allow it, but if they were able to afford 130, 140, 150 million dollars, do you think these white folks would actually give you that kind of money that would make you richer than any and every other? You would be your segment of people, the 40, 50 million people, how many of they claim that we are in this country, you'd be richer than any country on earth. I mean, do you honestly think that these white folks would actually do that out the kindness of their heart? Let's be for real here. Newsweek said that, and like our people constantly quote that article, and I just sit and I just shake my head. I'm like they're really spitting in your face. They're really trying your intelligence. They're really sitting up here having a laugh at you because they think that you're an idiot, and they're gonna put this amount out here, and they think that anybody that goes ahead and quote this is out their goddamn mind. That's what they really think. So whenever they hear people say, "Well, we're old," each black person, Newsweek. Look, Newsweek put that shit together as an insult to Black America and the reparations claim. That's why they put it together. They would be they think they were the laughing stock in the world, even think that we can get something like that. Trouble, go ahead and unmute your mic.
I think you're absolutely right. And we have to be a little bit smarter when quoting these articles and realize that sometimes, a lot of times, these are opinion pieces, and these aren't people who really have a vested interest in the reparations, and they are trolling. I've seen a lot of comments online from other white folks who would spew some astronomical number, out there. First and foremost, we always got to recognize whose face is on that dollar. So if we in any way think that they're going to make us richer than them when their face is the one that's on the dollar, then we really have slipped into a world of delusion. And so we need to kind of pull that back. To a certain degree, $5 million is a safe number, but then you have to look at how many people within the state is owed that money. And so you also have to, my thing is the government and a lot of other entities, a lot of other corporations, owe us money. It's not just one thing, but I guess we're just trying to come after the government at this point. So the government has a certain amount and a responsibility to Black America, and maybe each individual state has a certain amount that they're owed to the residents who face the harm within their state, if that's the direction that they want to go. The bulk of our money should come from the government, and if states is willing to pay up something that they have to make, that discretion according to how many people they have that are actually included in the harm. So, yeah, that's pretty much where I stand on it. But again, we got to stop looking at these astronomical numbers and I guess Dr. Amos had one small point as far as we need to be realistic on it. We can't expect a lot of these states, like the sister said, California takes care of a lot of other states. If it wasn't for states like California, states like Kentucky and other states would go under, and they know it. They wouldn't be able to survive. So all of that has to be taken into consideration. And so I really think it's a numbers game. And again, the bulk of the money that's owed is going to have to come from the U.S. government, and then that's going to have to. And that's why the government right now should be trying to look into giving us our reparations along with these states so they can come up with a good comprehensive plan. But going state by state and ignoring us on the national level just seems like a whole trick bag. And it really just seems like we might be chasing our tails a little bit. So I don't know. I guess California is the state to watch, so we'll see how it goes.
Oh yeah, at this point, California is like you playing chess. They the key piece on the table right now. California really, the entire nation, people that really claim that they're not looking at this reparation thing, they're following California closely to see how this thing goes about here. So California is very important. like you say, California's the largest producer of agriculture and everything else in this country. It's vital, that California go ahead and set the tone here. So it's the largest state in terms of the population. When people think of America after New York, they probably think about California next. So it's definitely important to see exactly how this is going to go. And Wilson, I know you out there in California. Real quick, y'all, up in the Jumbotron, I have the newsletter and the YouTube channel up there. Please make sure you go ahead and subscribe to both of those. Go ahead and subscribe to both of those. Also, the Cash App is in there as well, too. That's $Newstoter. $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black media curation platform today in America. Once again, Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black media news curation today platform in America. Please go ahead and subscribe to those YouTube channels as well, too. And that's $Newstoter. If you do not have a PayPal, we have the Venmo. If you do not have a Cash App, we have the PayPal and Venmo up in the Jumbotron as well too. Wilson, I know you out there in California, so definitely go ahead and share your opinions on it. And also, let me ask you real quick, because let's say that this thing does get past this $5 million. We pretty much already know logically, they can't just come up and give $5 million. So I think a lot of people look at that, but the thing can be broken down into installments and payments and things of that nature as well too. So potentially giving somebody $70,000, $80,000 to $100,000 a year, I think that is a reasonable plan. Go ahead, Wilson.
No, I just wanted to add that the whole narrative about people leaving California because it's so expensive, but they never talk about the number of people that still come here. It's unprecedented. And you look at the housing shortage. We're not talking about homelessness. We're just talking about basic housing shortages. They can't build fast enough. And so, I keep saying when it comes to particularly real estate here in California, when everybody is talking about, they're seeing, a softening in the real estate market, you're not talking about California. You're not. You never will. Because it's just a completely different animal. And yes, there are people leaving, things are expensive, but there's a lot of people coming here too. So, it's just a fact. So I just want to say that, just add that.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Absolutely. You got a load of immigrants that don't seem to have any problem jumping that border coming to California as well, too. So, yeah, you may have a decent amount of people leaving California because it's overpopulated, as this, is that, whatever. But California, in terms of the actual immigrant population, I mean, they're coming there left and right.
LA, it's not just immigrants, though. It's not just immigrants. It's not that. It's a lot of people coming here for businesses. You see, California is in a very unique situation, position-wise. They have the gateway to Asia, the South Pacific, Mexico, and Central and South America. And so what you have is a lot of people coming here for global business. It is a global state for business. Not only that, let's not forget, we also are the state that houses some of the most successful big box digital internet companies in Silicon Valley. And even though they have their issues right now with, the laying off and stuff, it is still the mecca for technology. So you have a lot of that too. So, you have a lot of people coming here and, it's just a unique state. So, of course, they want to see California fail with reparations. Of course, because there's no other state like this in the United States, not even New York. And I will tell you something. Being a New Yorker and growing up as a New Yorker, I see California as the potential being the first for reparations. I think New York is going to be very hard. I think New York is going to be very, very hard. That's just my own personal thought on that one. But they would love to see this fail in California. Because if it fails in California, they're thinking it will be a wrap for the rest of the country. So I am rooting for California. I'm very proud of California for taking this on and being serious about it. I also want to make a note that, I've been listening to, the OMB. I'm proud to say that I actually spoke during the California Reparations Task Force. I was asked to speak with regards to the egregious injustices that happened to Black Americans in real estate. And I think in September of 2021. And I want to make a note that when you have someone who is an absolute Sambo Coon traitor like Amos Brown, who is a foundational Black American and who ought to be ashamed of himself, but he's not. You have him, and then you have, what's the doctor's name? The brother from Jamaica? Is it Jovan? I think. And, I just want people to look at that because he's been 10 toes to the ground. He has been consistent and 10 toes to the ground. And then you look at this coon, and he would be happy to gatekeep that money, as you said, Newstoter, the other day in your room, to gatekeep that money and keep his own people in the projects as he's getting paid, being Biden's pet. So we have to judge people by their character. We have to lay in the cut and take our time. Because as the old saying goes, not all skin folk is kinfolk. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for coming up and speaking tonight again. So I definitely appreciate that, especially with you being out there in California. You know exactly what's going on out there. LA Rob, you as well too. What's going on tonight? LA Rob, how you doing?
Man, well, good afternoon to the kings and queens. I'm still on this Georgia time. I'm in Cali, born and raised. Venice, California is where I'm from. But I'm here caring for my mom and things like that. But one thing I can say, growing up here, I come back, man, and I don't see us. It's almost like I don't see a lot of Black Americans when I left here, and I come back, and it's totally different. I was in this IHSS place. You got to go get, certified caregiver and stuff. Shoot, it's 2 Black folks. The rest is Korean and Mexicans. That's it. And it's almost being in College Park, Georgia, having a barbershop in College Park, Georgia. When I first got to Georgia, it was nothing but Georgia folks. And it was a way that they rolled. It was a way that they, just that country, hospitable, just cool like that with you. But now, it's not a lot of people that are in Georgia, born and raised in Georgia. It's almost like California to a certain extent. But being here, being back home, you know what I'm saying? This my hood. This my neighborhood. Venice, Oakwood Park, all that's where I came up. That's what I know. But being here, it's like, only reason I'm here is to care for my mom. So I can really say that the lady who was speaking, you right. I agree with some of the things that you were saying. But when I come here, I'm 72, baby. When I was born and raised here, it was nothing but us. It was nothing but us. You know what I'm saying? And the essays, they was friendly because it wasn't that many of them. You know what I'm saying? That's what I know. You know what I'm saying? You see a Mexican getting jumped back in the day, oh, sure. Get him up off him. He the homie. He good like that. You know what I'm saying? Man, if this is how you really was before all your people came over here, then shit. You a pretendo. You ain't a Nintendo. You a fake game. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I see it. And I got a lot of my essays, they come and holler at me. We've been, I'm going to be 51 soon. So I've been cool with them since I used to go over their house with their mom and daddy in Eagle and Flounces. Stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. And now it's just like, how I came up with Mexican couldn't save my nigga. That wasn't happening because I wasn't going to say Beaner. I wasn't going to disrespect them like they, disrespected us. So I'm kind of, my uncles, my grandfather, if anybody ever familiar on this app, know about the clock, downtown Santa Monica, that clock has been there since the Evening Outlook days. My grandfather built that clock. It's one of the oldest clocks, period. My granddaddy did that. You know what I'm saying? And it's just to see everything, people better really sit back and look at and I really didn't learn about clear folks in Cali because they wasn't coming to my neighborhood. I didn't have to worry about that. You know what I'm saying? I remember black-owned business. I don't remember no liquor stores. I didn't start seeing liquor stores till I was like 13, 14, 15. You know what I'm saying? But I remember we need to quit talking about we are unique people. Everybody want to get like us. Everybody, you got clear folks wanting to be tan. You got Asians wanting to break dance. They break dance. They doing everything that we do. But we started this. You know what I'm saying? We started this. People better, sit back. Conversation rule the nation. You can't keep talking about it. You got to see about it. You know what I'm saying? Got to see about this. I agree with the lady who was speaking. You know what I'm saying? I'm here. And people who know me, you know what I'm saying, know me of this app. And people that know me in real life, man, I'm going to rep my hood. That's where I'm from. That's my neighborhood. Oakwood Park, 688 San Juan Street. That's where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? But I got mad love for College Park, Georgia, because they gave me, they put me on a pedestal. And when it looked like I was going to fall, guess what they did? They pushed me back up. That's what I call love. You know what I'm saying? That's what I got so much. I ain't got nothing to do with Atlanta. I really don't. But College Park, East Point, that's all love here. It's all love. News, keep handling your business. You know what I'm saying? Everybody on who I fool with, keep handling it. Folks that I don't fool with, don't like me. Man, I'm going to keep praying for you, cuz. Like, on everything. As long as you ain't white, I ain't got nothing. I don't even got nothing. I don't dislike you. I just fool with my people. That's it. I don't hate you, but I fool with my folks. And I'm going to slide on that.
Real talk, LA, and tell your moms we thinking about it, man. And shout out to you and moms as well, too. So just let her know that we thinking about it and we praying for her as well, too, man.
Hey, homie, watch this. I'm finna make this for you,
West side.
How you doing tonight, Mom? Mom came up in here for a second, so shout out to Mom, man. Shout out to the mom.
Hi.
It's all good, Mama. They've been praying for you.
Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for the prayer warriors. And thank you, Lord, for you putting me on your mind, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I love you.
We love you, too. And we'll do that. And you keep fighting them, Mom.
That's the homie, Mama. He real cool with me.
What's your name?
We gonna do it like this. We call him News. He the news man. And then you got Cold on here. Cold be praying for you. Got Sassy, Rockwaller. on the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Call God, because he be hating on the West Coast.
Yeah, we all rooting for you, Mama. We all
I had to get you, Rock. You know I had to get you, Rockweiler.
we all in your corner, Mama. We all rooting for you, sister.
Man, what you need to do is pray for me. I feel like I work at Denny's right now. My mama got me cooking so much, cuz.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. You on them son duty, so you already know how that is.
I knew you was gonna say that. I knew. You know what I'm saying? If you was my brother, I'd stay in trouble news. I ain't fooling with you today.
Yes, sir, man. That's my man, L.A. Rob there, man. So shout out to that brother. What's going on, Cash? I see you up in the spot tonight as well, too. How you doing? I know you got some information that you definitely want to share with us. So what's going on, bro?
Yeah, peace to the room. What's good, Newstoter? Hey, all reparations if I get some hundreds in the chat. Hey, but anyway, so let me say this, right? My name's in the title, you feel me? So I figured I'd say something, you feel me? Hey, so in San Francisco, right? First, let me take a step back real quick for those who's keeping up and get your calculators out, right? In the state of Oregon, where there's 77,000 Black Americans who would be eligible for reparations, they already suggested lifetime payments of $123,000 a year, tax-free, right? If you look at that math, at 18 years old, by the time you're 50 years old, you would be a $6 millionaire. That's what Oregon offered off-rip as a lowball. Not what they paid yet, because we're still in negotiations. I'll be very clear about that. But if Oregon can offer $100,000 a year in lifetime payments, meaning that you'd be a $6 millionaire by 50, and our elders are still here, they shouldn't be getting hit with the same check that I'm getting hit with for lifetime. They deserve a lump sum up front. So when I heard that San Francisco was arguing lump sum for all of us, I was willing to champion that. Matter of fact, this San Francisco argument is bigger than Oregon in multiple different ways. Lifetime payments just means until the day you pass. 250 years of payments alongside that $5 million lump sum tied to the area median income instead of the cost of living. But how much the incomes are of the people in the surrounding areas? Very, very interesting. And 250 years of that is way more than a lifetime. I think anybody here would agree. 250 years of payments. I think it needs to be 400. Now, I wanted to mention, because it's super important and we gloss over it, the debt forgiveness part of what's being argued for reparations in San Francisco, and something I think we should champion in every reparations claim. Because our debts for credit card bills, our debts for payday loans, for student loans, all those things that are listed there should be paid for by the government on our behalf. And why would credit card companies be against this? That's a win-win strategy for them. They would get a payout overnight, not for all Americans, but specifically those who are Black American. I wanted to mention this. In the state of California, I pinned it up above. They're at a surplus last year, $97 billion. But people say that the city of San Francisco only spends $14 billion in a year, right? And I'm not going to talk about their tax surplus. The amount owed is the amount owed. So if they owe $200 billion or $5 million per person, 44,000 in San Francisco, the number is what it is, and they have to go to the federal government to pay for their mistakes. Or they need to spread the numbers out so that those 44,000 is a cap of 10,000 a year for 4 years, 5 years. But it can't be no excuses. That's what I wrote up above. No more excuses. And lastly, y'all can take a look at the San Francisco report yourselves. Every month they're still having public call-ins so we can argue what we want it to be. And I think that I'm not much of a lineage person. I always keep up with the numbers for how much is owed. But it does seem like there's a lineage conversation to be had here in San Francisco. And so goes San Francisco, California, the nation. My last point about that is I don't trust a federal commission to study each state and each city and what's happened to our people specifically. Shout out to the city of San Francisco for having an all-Black American task force of 15 members based on socioeconomic status, people who were formerly incarcerated, people who were formerly displaced by gentrification, people living in public housing currently, people with finance degrees, all that, so on and so forth, right? Shout out to them. And shout out to how they taught me about urban renewal, things I hadn't really studied in the same way I didn't know too much about Rosewood, right, just outside Gainesville, Florida. I do not trust a federal commission to study what has happened in these cities and states. So it needs to go how the state of California has marijuana legalized now, and then the federals don't legalize it. We need to go state by state, door to door, just like Juneteenth was, just like the end of slavery really was, to make sure that we know what the numbers are by the time we get to the Fed, we got a receipt for them, instead of the federal government trying to blanket tell what all of us are going to receive at the state by state level and at the city by city level. I don't go for that. So I'm all about the snowball effect. I'm gonna carry the ball up the field, yard by yard, until we find out how much we're owed at the federal level. Thank you.
Cash, I wanted to ask you one question about the because I heard that about Oregon as well too. Now with Oregon, what are the parameters with Oregon? Is this based on the actual people? Because correct me if I'm wrong. Oregon was it ever a slave state to your knowledge?
Yeah, most definitely. To those who've heard of the Oregon Trail, that was our people carrying people around. That was our people traveling through the mountains for white folks, fixing they wheels and all that. Everybody's for the Oregon Trail. Now, the Oregon Territory back in the 1840s, was large. It was the size of California, Washington, all the way up into Canada, actually. And that territory had free blacks as well as enslaved blacks living in it. They wrote this thing called the Black Exclusion Act, saying that you had 6 months to get out of that giant territory, or you could be re-enslaved. This is 20 years before the Civil War. So there was slavery there. There was free blacks there. They definitely owe there. And really, my contention is that we're refugees in our entire country. No matter where you're living at, there's the war on drugs, there's mass incarceration, there's a KKK presence. I'm not going, I'm saying, Oregon, I can't speak to Oregon and what their situation was, but I definitely know that we survived injustices there. And I just like how they had the numbers sitting on the table so that we could argue if it's too little or too much. Obviously, too little. So again, there's other states like Evanston, just outside of Chicago, that's talking about $25,000 stipends. Only 16 people were able to qualify for it, and 3 have already passed before they've received their $25,000. So we ain't going for that. And that's that shout out to the title as well with the NAACP trying to make it about programs. We're not going for that. It needs to be yes and, not an either or. I'm sorry, Newstoter, if I didn't answer your question.
Oh no, you answered it. You definitely, and I always grew up hearing about the Oregon Trail and whatnot, but a lot of times we think that the states out there in the West, especially the Northwest and at the time and stuff like that, when we think about the slavery states, we think about North and South and some of the Midwestern states and some of the new territories that was coming up, but we really don't think about Oregon or the state of Washington and those places as being actually, slave type states as well too. So definitely, I
think of it like this: they wouldn't have been able to afford Alaska without paying our ancestors. That's the biggest state in the entire country. They wouldn't have been able to have the Louisiana Purchase without having paid our ancestors. All the money that was generated in the South was sent to New York, was sent to the West Coast. That's why we got Hollywoods, as well as mass incarceration. That's why they didn't want us out there. And I'm glad that we was out there born and raised. Someone said there was 72 in the room, despite what they did, despite that we had to have Crips, Community Rising Progress, despite that we had to have the Black Panther Party for self-defense. So I just wanted to say shout out to our people in California. Don't let nobody tell you y'all shouldn't get y'all checked first or anything like that. Y'all gonna set a giant standing on a peak in the hill. And I want everyone to argue more than them. To say, well, if California can afford that, I'm gonna need double that. Because I definitely survived double the oppression. There shouldn't be no trying to tear somebody down a pocket watch. Thank you.
Absolutely, and like you said, that would be huge too, because I always, when I think of Oregon and some of those states over there, I don't really even think of a large black population. But I believe you said it was 74,000 black people in the entire state, something like that.
77,000 in the entire state, and just in San Francisco City, there's 44,000. So it's less of us in San Francisco than there is in the entire state of Oregon. But just so that you can compare those numbers, just keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And that $103,000 or whatever they're talking about giving the people in Oregon for a lifetime, that's something that would create a lot of wealth as well too. Now I know Oregon doesn't have the expensive living that you have out there in California, but nonetheless, and then the actual what did they break down the actual price on the actual they were talking about giving like $200-some thousand a year out there in California. I mean, in San Francisco, cash, I believe.
It's 97,000 currently is the area median income, not the cost of living. And I like that distinction because as people in the area's incomes go up, that number will go up every year for 250 years. And I say go up, not go down, because Silicon Valley is Silicon Valley, and the Silicon Valley Bank just got bailed out. So they kind of just bailed out our numbers as well. If those people left that state in mass, that would harm us technically. So maybe we should say, 97,000 is the floor, and it starts at 97, never drops below that. But the number looks like it could very easily go up. And right now, 97,000 is what it looks like, which is not 123,000 that Oregon said. But 250 years is longer than I plan to live, and I definitely want to pass on generational wealth. So
Absolutely. Great points as always that you make, Cash. I'm glad that you came up here and dropped knowledge like you always do. He's definitely very informative on this issue right here. So thank you, Cash, for coming up and speaking to the space tonight. And can't refute anything that you said there. Black Native, how you doing tonight? Go ahead and unmute your mic. I'm glad, Black Native, that you can get up here and speak. I was wondering if Black Native was going to come up here tonight, but I'm glad you decided to come on up here.
Well, thank you, Newstoter, and peace in rooms, peace and reparations, which we're going to get. I just wanted to read something, and I don't know if too many people, y'all might know this. I was just pulling up an article about how much cotton generated every year. It was $200 million a year. They said in 1860, enslaved labor produced over 2 billion pounds of cotton each year. About 75% of the cotton grown in the American South was sold internationally. So it wasn't just here in this country, it was worldwide. So if they were making $200 million a year, and we were enslaved for 256 years? Yeah, it's insurmountable. And that's just cotton. We ain't talking about sugarcane. We ain't talking about tobacco. We ain't talking about all the bridges, all the railroads, all the colleges. We're not talking about how we funded the banks, the insurance companies. We ain't even get to that point yet. So, yeah, they got to come out their pocket. And it's going to be a large sum, and they're going to have to take it, suck it up, suck it down, and deal with it. And all these white supremacists and other immigrants who want to chime in and say, oh, well, it wasn't our ancestors, we shouldn't have to pay. Sorry, if you're in this country and you're living free and you're enjoying the benefits of this country, yeah, you're going to consume that debt. That's just what it is. And really, that's all I want to say. And also, when Cash was saying that, they should do student loan forgiveness and credit card tax, credit card debt, those are the banks. And those banks, like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Barclays, it's a list. That's how they got rich, was off of slave money. Yeah, they need to go ahead and mortgage loans, we don't need to pay that. Student loans, I got about $50,000 worth in student loans. Yeah, let's go ahead and cancel that debt. I don't have credit card debt, thank God. But yeah, we need to go after these banks. I mean, every party. This is just the beginning. Literally, this is just the beginning. But once this ball gets rolling, all of these other corporations who know they had their hand in it, or how they got their start was off of slavery, they're going to be shivering in their boots, believe me. And they don't want us to come after them next. So, yeah, this is just the start. And thank God that California is going to be leading, because that's almost one of the largest states next to Texas. And the sister said one of the 4th richest states or 5th richest state in the world. So, yeah, we're going to get our money from them, and then it's just going to trickle down to the south and to the north. And that's all I want to say.
Real quick, Black Native, before you leave, I wanted to ask you, what's your opinion about the actual, because we know the NAACP president in San Francisco that the chapter out there, he was saying that, it wasn't realistic, the actual $5 million. What's your opinion on that actual amount, the $5 million that a lot of people are suggesting it could possibly be? Do you think that that's a realistic amount? Do you think it needs to come down lower? Just give me your opinion on what you feel about that real quick before you drop down or you stop speaking.
Yeah, I think that's a realistic amount. I think it's not enough, but no, I'm not going to lowball our people. If that's what they said, $5 million, and then that's what it should be. And the NAACP hasn't done anything for Black people since the 1950s. It's antiquated. For them to even have the audacity to write a letter stating that they oppose us getting 55, what business is it of yours? Me and my mother was having this conversation in the car earlier today. And she said that, the NAACP was formed by the small hats. So let's look who's behind. Let's pull the curtain and let's see who's behind this. Because you got a Black face, but they're not the ones behind the scenes making this statement. And they also did a revision of the letter. I put it in I put it in your comment section. They revised the letter. They said, we're not saying that, you shouldn't get cash payments. We're just saying that the $5 million is unfeasible. Why is it unfeasible when this country got $200 million a year off of slavery? They should be glad we only asking for $5 million and not 10 or 15 million per person to equal. They said, I think they made, I think they said 14 trillion off of slavery. Now, if you divide 14 trillion into 40 million people that's in this country, do the math. I don't know how much that would be. I know it would be in the billions, and we're not asking for that. So I think 5 million is reasonable and just. And I think Mississippi and all these other states who really was hardcore, the South, with their slavery, I don't think they could afford it, but they're going to have to come up with some numbers. Or the federal government. They could get the money from the federal government. Mississippi, Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Delaware, Maryland. Oh yeah, they're gonna pay for this shit. And it is what it is. And I'm just glad to be alive to see this day. My mother might not see it. I might not see it, because who knows? They might keep pushing it back further and further. I think they said they're gonna have a decision. I think they said July of this year. So let's see what happens, and let's hope that they don't, come up with some shenanigans and say, look, we haven't, come to a conclusion. Let's go ahead and push this out to July 2024. If they do that, then we know they're full of shit. Okay, so yeah, I believe the 5 million is fair and it's just, and I'll land.
All right, appreciate that, Black Native. Cash, go ahead and unmute your mic and let me get the trouble.
Yeah, I just want to clarify again that with Oregon's Senate Bill 619, which offered, I would argue, a low ball of $123,000 a year for lifetime payments tax-free. At 50 years old, you will be a $6 millionaire. So in California's case, and I hate to do compromise, I'm saying I do play chess though. What I suggested before of 44,000 people so that they should split it up over 4 years or something, that's one suggestion to make it so it doesn't have such a burden all at once, which I'm not really interested in. That's up to them to figure out once we tell them how much it is. Otherwise, like what I said before, anybody who's over 50 or once you reach 50, maybe that's when you get hit with the lump sum. But they're also offering, like I said, the 250 years of payments, the financial literacy courses, something about retirement services, a whole lot of other stuff. But I want my $5 million, I'll be very honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want our elders to get it first and foremost. So anybody over 50 who gets the $5 million, maybe that would only be 10,000 of the 44,000. And by the time you reach 50, you get your check. But I go with Black Native said, I want everybody to get their $5 million right now for what they survived as of right now.
Oh, real talk. I mean, and that's what me and Trouble was saying early, like cash is the most important thing. Give us the money first and foremost. And then I want the land next. And then we can go ahead and start setting the policies in place and stuff like that to make Black people a protective class, and industries and things that, always discriminated against us. They need to go ahead and cut us in there. So that's when the policy and everything else comes in. We can talk about housing, and you can talk about industries. Like, I truly believe that 13% of the agriculture economy in this country should definitely be going to Black people, since they were the ones most responsible for creating it and maintaining it and cultivating it and enhancing the actual wealth of this nation. So, and I'm talking about cotton, I'm talking about all of it. Anything that you picked and planted down there, you should go ahead and you should be ahead and you should be sitting on some of these boards and stuff, some of these wealthy corporations, these Fortune 500 companies, the banking industry and all of that different stuff, the railroad industry. I don't like to give all the credit to the Asians for building the actual U.S. railroad system, but we all know that's nonsense. You built it out west, but we built everything out east of the Mississippi. So, I mean, up north, down south. So we need to go ahead and get some of that as well too. So there's a lot of things that we were naturally kept out of industries and stuff like that. They need to go ahead and put Blacks as stockholders and put them make them chairman of the boards and everything else. So I'm definitely agreeing with that. But first and foremost, the cash has to come. The cash, and then the next important thing to me is the actual land. They're not making any more land in this world. We need to go ahead and have access to land as well too. So let me go ahead and kick it to Trouble real quick. Trouble, you got it.
Word, that land is hella important, and I wouldn't care if they give it to us at a discounted rate when you give it to us. You know, even if you can only give us so much, you know, then give us what you're going to give us, and then if we need to buy more, make that at a discounted rate too. If Bill Gates can have 200 and some odd billion acres of land, go ahead and what they call it when they just take your shit without you agreeing to them taking
eminent domain.
Okay, eminent domain, next year give it back to us because that's what belongs to in the first damn place. Black Natives was saying that she believes it's 14 trillion. I believe that's a lowball number right there. I believe that it's way more than 14 trillion because if you divide that 14 trillion between 40 million at this point, that's only $350,000 each. We worth more than $350,000 each because we was their commodity. We was what they used to mortgage their houses with. So, and it's not just about the harms that was created throughout slavery. Whatever money they accumulated through the slavery, plus all of the harms that they committed against our people till this day. Because let's not act like the harms have stopped throughout all the Jim Crow and systemic laws and things that they have. You know, we've come up against. They still owe us for everything they're continuing to do to us till this day. They're bringing and even now bringing in all of these extra immigrants and everything. That's causing an additional harm. I'm looking at my kids' school with all these extra immigrants inside. Well, just last year, the 8th grade class was missing lunch most days. So now, what are you doing about that? You know, so they've created a whole lot of harms outside just the slavery. So for them to say only 14 trillion, nah. Y'all created more wealth than that 14 trillion. We gonna triple that 14 trillion because I'm pretty sure whatever comes up out of y'all, whatever numbers come from about of y'all's mouth, we know it's 3, 4, 5 times that amount because they, you know, they mouth is moving, they lie. You know.
And also the slavery, the economy from the United States, it pretty much sustained the globe. It sustained the world. It sustained all of Europe. So they were living, all of the Europeans over there in Europe were living off of the slavery that was going on over here, over in Jamaica, over in all the black people. We sustained this whole planet for free. So yeah, it's probably more than 14 trillion. 200 million times that by 256 years. And that's probably a small ball, like you said. So I agree with you on that. They probably owe us about at least 180 trillion because there was no country here. And this is why a lot of these foreigners, when they come here, and when you was reading them comments, Newstoter, and I was telling my mother about, you said it was like 10,000 comments.
Over 10,000.
Over 10,000. It shows you, even though these people are skinning and grinning your face with that fake ass, half-ass smile that they do when you catch them looking at you, when they do that, everybody know that's fake. It ain't even a smile. I don't know what you call it, but they do that shit and knowing deep down inside they can't fucking stand black people because ain't no way. Where all these so-called good white people at? Where? I've been saying that for years. Like, where are y'all? When we had the guy in California, the rancher, and I asked him that question, I was just being facetious. I was like, so you mean to tell me all them good white Christians ain't over there helping you fight against what's going on your land? He started laughing. So we get to see these people in their raw form. They've been showing us, they've been telling us, but once we get this money, because they know money is power. And they understand that. That's why they don't want us to have it. They want to keep us in a permanent underclass so they can have somebody look down upon. So they don't want us to have this money, but it's not up to them at this point. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. I'll land.
Absolutely. I see we got a new speaker up here too. So I'm gonna get to you, Cash, and I'm gonna get to you, Welsing. Let me see what Yup has to say. Yup, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, good evening. Thanks for letting me leapfrog. Thanks, guys. I'm glad to hear this conversation. and us getting kind of back to the root of what brought us all together. And I like the move to where we're moving beyond chattel enslavement and understanding, the depth of the harm that's been done since we have been free, and to see ourselves as valuable in the here and now. Because what I'm noticing is part of the pushback as it evolves, as we get closer, is people, detractors, particularly immigrants, trying to divorce us from the accomplishments of our parents and our grandparents, and say, okay, well, that was them. That's not you. And so we have to become acquainted with, I think, what is called structural violence, which is essentially the accumulation of all of the various disparities and adding those up, and what that looks like. And that looks like genocide. And genocide has no statute of limitations, just like inheritance doesn't. And there's actually a law that states that each incidence of genocide is $1 million. So when I look at that $5 million number out of San Francisco, I immediately said that number is just about right. Just about right. And that's what happens when you do math. And I do math, and that number is about right. And I believe it's actually not really a lump sum payment, but spread over perpetuity, which, is just about right to me as well. And like Black Native was saying, the statement from San Francisco NAACP was just so pointed in the just the whole dynamic of control, the fear, the fact that we literally are the fuel, the engine, even in our state now at a 20-to-1 wealth gap, the taxes and economic impact that we have just by our very existence has really not been quantified on a tax basis and tying that into taxation without representation. But they have a sense of that. So we're getting closer. But I do implore us all to understand our value in the here and now. And we are not just our ancestors. We are our accomplishments and what we contribute in terms of, social, spiritual contribution, but literally your tax contributions, which we rarely ever see the true value of. So even as freedmen, even as present day Black American freedmen, Negro, whatever, we are still building the country. We are still building the roads that we don't use. We are still building schools and hospitals and infrastructure that we don't use. So don't let people tell us that our present day existence is any less valuable and contributory to the vast wealth that is sloshing around in this economy. There's so much money sloshing around that they extract from us on a daily basis. From the time you walk into a courtroom and got to pay a quarter to put your phone in, the money that's out here is, the main thing is that tying that also back to delineation. It's not all the same, but it's all connected. But we do have value in the here and now. We are owed reparations, not only for chattel slavery, not only for Jim Crow, but for the structural violence that is the current 20-to-1 lineage wealth gap. That is us, and that is owed to us, in addition to what our inheritance. So we have value in the here and now, and that's what I would love to see us really truly embrace, that sense of entitlement and us first, and we deserve it.
Can I ask the sister, should we sue because we've been paying taxes, but we haven't been represented? When you said no taxation without representation, and we haven't been represented. So, but we've been paying our taxes. And Elon Musk doesn't pay taxes. I just want to throw that out there.
I'll just say very quickly, obviously, yes, but that is a very complicated process that requires always, have a group, a class action. And so I would say that, we're not really in a position right now to launch any major suits. But if you are a group, a family group, please don't sue on your own. But if you have the resources to do that, please do press taxation without representation, press from the perspective of your freedman legal status. But yeah, if you have the money, we are definitely have case upon case upon case.
Alrighty. We're gonna real quick, y'all, if you can, once again, because we're gonna be closing the space out shortly, because Trouble has a space coming up talking about the reparations as well too. So we'll be closing this one out shortly. If you guys can thinking about making a donation to us on Cash App, that's $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Remember, Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black American, not just the largest Black-owned, but the largest Black America media news curation platform today in America. By supporting us, you're supporting other Black-owned businesses as well too. So please, if you can, if it's just $1, if you can donate to Newstoter, it's up in the Jumbotron. That is $Newstoter. Once again, let me say that is $Newstoter. If you do not have a Cash App, the PayPal and Venmo is also in the actual Jumbotron as well too. That's right. The PayPal and the Venmo is actually up in the Jumbotron. Once again, that is $Newstoter. We need as many donations as possible to keep this news flowing as much as we do. So if you guys make sure you click the notifications when we send out the daily news reports to you guys as well too. So let me go ahead and get to we're gonna get to you, Welsing, and then we're gonna get to you, Cash. And we're gonna try to go ahead and keep it to 2 minutes because, like I said, we'll be closing it out shortly.
I just wanted to add, when you get land as reparations, making sure, and this is so key, that it is zoned in your favor. You make sure you know what that property is zoned for and what it's not zoned for, because it could be useless to you. And I will tell you from the experience with the Bruce family, or the heirs to the Bruce estate, a land that was stolen from them in 1928. That land was appraised between 75 to 100 million. From a real estate point of view, where it's located and how it's positioned in that city of Manhattan Beach, that is about right. They got the land and they could not do anything with it because it was zoned unfavorably for them as owners of their own heritage, their own people's land. And so they had to end up, and it pains me to say this, it pisses me off to say this, they ended up selling it for $20 million.
I thought it was $50 million.
No, they sold it for 20. They sold it for 20 or 25. She's right. We did a space on that. Yeah.
And when I tell you that from a real estate point of view, let me see, this is 2023. In 2017 or 16, I sold a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. I think it was 26 or 700 square feet. It was an attorney that had to sell it through a divorce in Manhattan Beach, at the time built up. Okay, small footprint, 1 parking garage. That sold for $3.8 million. And if anybody knows that land that I'm talking about, that land was beachfront property. I'm so pissed off at that.
But can I say
was a ripoff.
But hey, Jackie, how you doing?
Hi.
Can I just say that?
Hey, real quick, guys, real quick, because we're trying to, because Trouble and them have a space going, so we're trying to close this about 8:30. So make it to maybe about 2 minutes, guys.
No, it's gonna be less. I promise. Cash, please go. Mine is just anecdotal.
Thank you for letting me speak. Bye.
No problem. Cash, you want to go real quick, Cash?
Yeah, I'm right here. My bad. I don't want to take it back a step, but when Black Native was speaking about the 200 million, I think, or when we were just talking in general about how much really owed, I mean the trillions, hundreds of trillions. I just pinned up above the article that was written in Sage Journal. 6 different authors who had different ways of approaching reparations. One of them, who's quoted in the abstract or the first paragraph of that article, mentions that if we were paid based on the census records, because that's how they used the 3/5 compromise in order to receive votes in Congress. That's how they got insurance on us, was using the census. That's how they were paid reparations, was using the census to prove how many of us they had lost due to emancipation. So based on the census records and based on a 24-hour day's wage, based on the minimum wage at the time, which is the low ball, the unskilled labor wage, with a 6% interest rate being the last thing, our people will be owed $6.2 quadrillion, which is $151 million per person. And that was an abstract, an example of how compound interest can balloon based on us receiving these unskilled labor wages. So y'all could keep that number in mind, the 151 million in that article as well, and take a look at the comments to hear from economists who think that it's more important to just be equal to white folks' wealth in modern day, and that'd be our reparations. I think we should go for the full $100, not the $10 white folks got left over in modern day. #6 quadrillion.
All right, thank you. Let me get to Yup, and then we're gonna get ready and close this out real quick. Yup, let me give a shout out to my girl Rera. She always supports. Rera, thank you for your contribution on Cash App tonight, sisters. Always, I appreciate you coming to the spaces. Always retweeting the content out, the spaces, and everything else, and also donating when you can. So I just want to give you a shout out. Thank you, sister, for always supporting. Yup, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Okay, I'll make it quick. Thank you for letting me have another word. I just wanted to say how important it is to get land plus cash. You can't just get land. It is incredibly expensive to develop raw land with no pipes, infrastructure. So I understand. And if it's any consolation, he's married to a white woman, so probably just going to end up back. But anyway, you got to have money. So that's how we know he's a good example. I'm sure they could have held on to it and they could have got it rezoned. They could have done all that, but that takes time. And, 20 million is 20 million, y'all. Come on. So we can't be pocket watching. Maybe we could have done a lot of things different, but know that we can't just say we just want land. You can't get 40 acres in the wilderness somewhere with no access. So we just keep that in mind as well. So I just wanted to add that very key element. Don't feel so bad about Bruce Beach. They probably did what was best for their family. And please, 20 million. They probably had a whole bunch of people pulling at them for that money. And I'm sure all of their lives are so much better. And they took their share. And who knows what splendiferous things that they have been able to do with that. So that's the way I tend to or prefer to think of that.
All right, thank you. Yup, thank you to everybody that come out to the space tonight as well, too, guys. This is the second Friday night space. Won't be doing one next week, but I want to go ahead and get one in tonight. So thank you guys for coming to the space and sharing your thoughts about reparations. That's why you said yup, and I agree with you. Cash, land, and policy. Cash is the most important. You got to have the land. The land needs to also be included in the reparations. We do not need to take any money to go out and purchase any land. The government can go ahead and supply the land as well, too. And then the policy. Going ahead, and since it was policy that we had slavery in this country, which was a policy, since we had Jim Crow and the black codes, and we had everything else through Reconstruction, those were all policies. Then we need to also have policies to go ahead and secure our future and our kids' future as well, too. So thank you guys for coming out tonight. Sister Trouble and Mel and Rella, they have a space going on at 8:30. So I want to go ahead and stop this one so you guys can go ahead and get over there. I'm going to run to the store real quick, and then I'm going to go ahead and try to join that space as soon as I can, too. So thank you, guys. Have a good night. If you can, support on Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned news media curation platform today in America. We will see you guys coming back probably Monday or Sunday night. So you guys take care, and we'll see you then.